Okay, we should be good.
We are going to look into the audio. Are we back on?
We are back on. You can call the meeting to order.
All right, I'd like to call this meeting of the East Amwell Township Committee to order.
Adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Committee has been provided by a notice sent to the official newspapers of the Township, posted to the Township website, posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building, and filed with the Township Clerk as required by law on December 18th, 2025. Ms. Casper-Bloom?
Here.
Mr. DePiero?
Here.
Ms. Enton?
Here.
Mr. Nardi?
Here.
Mayor Dendis?
Here.
We already did the pledge, so we're good.
So you need the announcement?
You don't have to. They can read them.
You just said any announcements are in okay.
Yeah, just said earlier if you want to read.
All right, I'm going to move on. The announcements are on the agenda. If anybody needs to read them, I'm not going to read through them. It's relatively routine. All right, I'm going to move on to item number 5, open to the public, to agenda items only, limited to 5 minutes per person. This meeting is now open to the public. Anybody have anything to tell?
Just agenda items.
Agenda items.
Are we an agenda item?
I would believe that's an agenda item, especially.
I guess it is.
I just, yeah. Now?
Yeah, they both want to come up.
You guys know I'm new to this.
They're fine.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
So basically I just wanted to talk about a couple things that, I want to say clarifying on the squad's behalf of some certain items that were brought up. Just have a couple points. So, call data was one of them, which I did send you guys our call data today. Sorry it was coming late. That's when he finished it, so I got it out there. I have a copy for it too if you need it.
Can I, when you're speaking, I'm going to ask you, can you just explain the first page of it? Because I don't understand the first page of it.
Is that the response times? Because it may be out of order from what he sent me.
No, well, it's patient, contact, travel, time, comparison.
Yeah.
All right, so...
So this is hypothetical data.
Can I approach?
You can,
I just want to see which one you have.
this isn't judge you.
Oh, yeah, good.
Can you just explain
Oh,
what
yeah,
that
yeah,
is?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So the paper that you were addressing was basically we talked about response times, all right? Said many a time that you've talked to other agencies that response times are minimal from an outside agency or an inside agency, getting to a patient time. So that's what I did there. It was just to show, pick 15 random addresses. A lot of them are actually circling the outskirts of East Amwell Township.
Okay.
It was all off of Google, so it doesn't reflect lights and sirens, doesn't reflect weather, traffic, anything like that.
Understood.
It was just to show what Google Maps shows from certain addresses from each individual squad building.
Okay.
So if a call goes out to the top address, and I just wrote how many miles, what the time it would take for us to respond, for Flemington to respond, for Lambertville to respond.
Okay.
So that was my second point. So kind of what I wrote was, although the committee states that there will only be the difference of seconds when other agencies answer calls from outside of the township, the data supplies clearly shows that the time it would take for other agencies to get to the patient will take an average of 4.75 minutes longer than an ambulance staffed in East Amwell Township. So of those, I just averaged it out, basically right about 5 minutes longer for anybody else to get to a patient than we would. And basically I wrote that because in your solicitation, another bidder is not required to have an ambulance in town. We've talked about that. You talked about that in previous meetings and stuff. So, and that was something that we were surprised about. Because to have the best patient time, you would want them in town, not coming from Flemington, not coming from Lambertville, where those call times take longer, driving time takes longer. So that's all that was. It was just to show you some numbers.
Okay.
So the call data that we talk about, we hear a lot, 50%. Last week you said something about 30%, which might have been prior to COVID or something. I'm not sure where that number came from. But in my year-end data that we supplied with you, it shows that our year-end data shows that we answered 217 calls out of 336 calls in East Amwell, leaving 146 calls answered by our mutual aid partners. So that was 60% of the East Amwell calls answered by Amwell Valley Ambulance. not the 30%, 50% that people hear. Another point was, talked about certified financials. You know, the request for the certified financials basically came to us somewhere around mid-2025. It wasn't prior to all those other discussions. That was kind of after we supplied certain things, we had our mutual aid agreement. So the committee only asked in the original for us to supply certified financials, never asked for just an audit. Something that we have discussed many times of the cost, over $10,000 to have certified financials done. We have sent you guys the 2023, 2024 year-end financials, plus our profit loss statements from those years. Now that other agencies let you know, because we never did, let you know that they don't do certified financials, they do audits, the bid process changed to allowing just audits and not requiring certified financials anymore. So an audit is something that if we were asked originally, we would have done that. It's a minimal cost to do an audit. It's not $10,000, $12,000 to do certified financials, you know. And then also that you stated that, you know, most townships or all townships, I don't want to say all, but most townships, you said, request or require audits or certified financials. But my point is, not every township does that. We get donations every year from our neighboring townships, and they have never once asked for us for that. It is only East Amwell that's been asking for that recently.
All right, that's your 5 minutes.
Okay.
In the interest of keeping this moving.
Yeah, no, I'm good with that.
Is there another time at the end if he came back up items off the
Yeah.
agenda, or is he good? Okay.
Yeah,
And if not, I can
anything
talk
at
to you
the
guys
end.
later about it, you know?
Anything at-
I'll have
So-
to yield my time.
Okay.
No, I can give you what I wrote.
Yeah. Okay.
No. You can get everyone's comment.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments?
Hello, my name is Scott Herban. I am not a resident, but I am the Vice President of Antelope Valley Ambulance Corps. Just to finish up what Rob was saying, in terms of all of the financials, in terms of audited versus certified, like he said, if we knew that audited was what was required, we would be more than willing to cooperate in terms of giving that to you. And we've all had this discussion before in terms of the certified financials. We know that it would be a huge cost to the squad, which we currently do not have the funds to provide for that. Sorry, one second. Lost my spot on the paper. Moving to a different topic, in terms of the mutual aid agreements that we have formed with Lambertville and Flemington currently, as it stands right now, we have not received any complaints in terms of the current model that we are following. So in terms of our coverage time versus the coverage that we are requesting from Flemington and Lambertville, there has been no complaints. We have communicated back and forth with Lambertville and Flemington leadership, and nobody has said, yes, we want to change. And in terms of the agreement, everybody seems to be happy about it. So in terms of changing the model to something more of the bid that everybody's currently looking at, I personally do not see the logic behind it if the current partners that are involved in the bid that we know of are happy with the current model. If that is not the case and there's other communications going on, we would love to talk about it, but from everything that me, Rob, every other person at the squad knows, everything seems to be all hunky-dory right now. As more of an update in terms of membership, since this was brought up as a concern at previous meetings, in 2025, we gained 5 new members. 4 of our existing members became EMTs, and in 2026, we have 3 members that are currently slated to take the EMT course. So everything is on the up and up in terms of EMT coverage. I know that I haven't used the full 5 minutes, but if anybody wants to ask questions, I know that's not usually what happens here, but if anybody would like to ask a question, please go ahead. I'll stand here for a minute. I think I have that time, right?
You can sit there, I just don't have any questions for you.
How many EMTs do you guys currently have?
In terms of total or cleared or in training, I don't know the specific
Not the
number
not
right now.
training, But, okay, you don't,
I also, around 14 to 15 in my head.
okay.
Yeah. And then 3 additional that are currently about to take the EMT course that is in the spring.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
That's all we have now. Anybody else have any comments on this topic?
Might as well say my piece. Tim Matthews, Linville Road. So I think last time we talked, I reminded you that I would serve 9 years on the Township Committee, and for most of those, I believe I was the liaison to the rescue squad and the fire department. I still have concerns as to why you've held back money and funding from the squad for the last 3 years. And I'd like to know, has that been rolled over to surplus each year? Is it still available for the squad, or has it been redeployed and squandered on other activities? And squandered may not be the right term, because that makes it sound like it's well, that makes it sound like it's irresponsible. I'm sure you were responsible, but if the money, I know typically it's allocated, in the beginning of the year when you budget, you put in the money, and then you didn't give it to them. So that money either has been spent or it's still available and rolled to surplus. So, I think the residents have a right to know where that $75,000 is. And as I was here last time, I said, since you've removed the requirement for the certified audit, and that was stipulated as the main reason you were holding back at least the most recent year's funding, I suggested that you redeploy that money at the end of 2025 when you could do that. Clearly, I don't think you did. So, again, I think you owe the residents an explanation as to where the $75,000 has gone, and what are you budgeting for the rescue squad this year? Because typically we start where we left off, so you probably already have in the current budget some funding allocated to that line item. And what do you plan on doing with it? Thank you.
Anybody else have a comment on that topic? Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Eric Gertz. In September, my wife fell off her bike. A passerby called 911. Within an hour, she was in the trauma center in Trenton. That would not have happened if they were coming from Flemington or Lambertville. I think it's important to keep a local ambulance service. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have comments on this topic? Okay, seeing none, seeing there are no further comments, I'd like to close this meeting to the public without objection.
Mike, could I just address a couple things that got raised before you do, or you just go first?
Go right ahead.
So I just have a couple. So one comment is, I know folks here arguing, it seems, why they support Amwell Valley Rescue Squad. But just so everyone's clear, we're not considering any proposals yet, right? We haven't even gotten the proposals or signed off. So I know folks are making arguments and coming each week, but just so you know, there will be that open and public process where we do this. So just so you know. Certified financials, I guess a couple commenters said, if we'd only known that, we could submit non-certified, we would have done it already. But I think you're not understanding. What we're saying is, or at least what I'm saying is, rescue squads that we're aware of that are professional provide certified financials. And what's certified? It means it's not just that you keep track of your own expenses and your own income and write it down. It's that you have a professional, CPA, review it, and the certification is to say, yes, I've reviewed it, it's complete, it's accurate. And that, of course, is the thing that's helpful to the public. What we've gotten so far from Amwell, and why we kept asking for, real audits, is that, just getting the books where you say this is what happened without having that independent review is essentially worthless from a financial protection point of view. So it's not that, we're trying to come up with something that's a problem. Rather, that's what, real municipalities do and what real rescue squads do to show that public funds are going in a way that's signed off by a CPA, a certified professional. So that's the reason. Also, someone made a statement, I think maybe it was Tim, that, the township took out certified audit as a requirement. That's not true. So what we did was we realized that our own local squad said they can't or not able to do that. And if we said that's our requirements for our bids, or that you must do it, that would mean that the local squad's not able to put in a bid. So while we think it's a very important factor and we're going to weigh it, if you say you can't do it or don't have the money to do it, we don't want to stop you from bidding. We want to then evaluate it in line with all the other factors too, and see what's going to give the best service to our residents who need this critical care, what is going to be the best value to the township when we look at finances. So it's not that we dropped the requirement, it's that we didn't want to prevent our own squad from even being able to bid. There also was a comment about, I guess Tim had asked about donations. Where's the $75,000? There's no $75,000 sitting around, right? What I recall happening is in 2023, the squad did not ask us for a donation. In 2024, they did not ask us. In early 2025, they asked us for $25,000. When they did, given the concerns about financial condition and other factors, we said, and in our June meeting in 2025, we need two things. One is a comprehensive report, because they had come before us and said, look, a lot of things are changing, we have different partners, we're doing agreements, we have a plan to do this, we promise to get to a greater ability of EMTs and ability to handle calls, and we said, look, we need a comprehensive report to say, what is your plan? How exactly is it going to work? You can't just say, generally, we're going to get to a greater number. And we also said, look, since you want $25,000 this year, we put that in the budget, but we need to see the certified financials. So the answer is we don't have $75,000 sitting around anywhere, right? Our budgets close each year. The money gets whacked up each year for what we have. We haven't had a discussion yet on whether money needs to be put aside. Frankly, in my mind, we were going to try to figure out where we're going with your EMS provider. And before April, when we do our budget, we'll figure out what that will be. So for me, those are some of the responses to make sure our residents understand. I know folks keep coming and commenting, but ultimately I want the residents to understand what the issues are and how we're trying to approach them in a fair way.
All right, thank you for that. All right, so Rob and I have had an open communication, right? Rob's learning things that he didn't know in the past. Let me quickly, though, circle back, and Ms. Quinn had commented on the first section, and it probably leaves a lot of you guys going, what the heck does this have to do with what we're here? Well, no, that's fine. No, I didn't want, I wanted you to comment because I knew you had something to say, and I didn't think it would be fair to have you sit there for an hour. So let me tie her comments together, and some of this will start to make some sense for you guys that don't know. I'm going to, if you guys, 5-10 minutes, then I'm going to try to clear up how this entire process of this particular township committee started reviewing Animal Valley Rescue Squad. Ms. Quinn's comments are particularly directed at an administrator within the Animal Valley Rescue Squad that's a criminal, a convicted felon for stealing money from another not-for-profit. I don't know what you folks are being told out there in the community, but that's a fact. I have the police reports, I have the criminal complaint, and I have the judicial order of conviction that I'm prepared to release to the Republic because it's public information. Over the last 3 years, we have not said everything that we want to say from this dais because I did not think the rescue squad's dirty laundry belongs out in the public. However, in the last month, Paul Hutchins and his surrogates have taken to social media to purposely spread disinformation and lies about the Township Committee and about other rescue squads. So I'm going to clear this up. I've been trying to clear it up slowly, but I didn't want to bring all the inadequacies and incompetence into the public light because it's only going to hurt the rescue squad, and I need people to have confidence in our rescue squad. Paul Hutchins, the chief, has a lot to say on social media, but yet he's been here 2 months in a row and said nothing to where we can address his lies. I'm not going to go on social media and do it. Here's what I want to start with, how this committee got involved, because they started this group of whatever wants to say that this is a vendetta that Mike Dendis has from his time as a police officer against this criminal. Mike Dendis does not have an agenda against this criminal. I had nothing to do with it. When Jonathan and I got elected and Jenna got sworn in for mayor, there's copies of this letter on the back table. Jenna received an email, or a hard copy, I'm not sure how it came to you, an email from Flemington Raritan Rescue Squad. The same letter, by the way, that was emailed and delivered to several years in a row to other committees that didn't get acted on. This is how it starts. Dear East Amwell Township Committee members, all right, this is important to know because I don't think Rob knows this. I think I sent you a letter this weekend because I told you I'm introducing this. When Mike Dendis got elected to this committee, the Amwell Valley Rescue Squad was not anything on my agenda that we were even looking at. We were looking at open space, taxes, and government transparency. That is it. This letter that you've seen, I don't know if you shared it with your membership, is what caused us to look at the Amwell Valley Rescue Squad. It's 1 page long, so bear with me. Over the course of the past several years, the Amwell Valley Ambulance Corps has struggled to provide 24-hour EMS coverage to the residents of East Amwell Township. In late April of 2019, HVAC requested that the Flemington Raritan Rescue Squad and Lambertville New Hope Rescue Squad provide EMS service to the East Amwell Township residents 12 hours a day, 5 days a week for a period of approximately 2 months. Very interesting that you guys go to them and ask them for help when you need it, but then criticize them that they can't make it in time to the calls for service in East Amwell Township, but they're good enough when you need them. And to dispute that, this is not at the back and forth, you had your time to talk. Here are the Oprah requested calls for service for the last year that I can get that show all the response times are within 30 seconds. I think I shared that with you guys. It's been shared in the meeting. You might not have it, but I'll get to that. All right. 5 days a week, 12 hours a day, ending in July 1st, 2019. This was accomplished through a dual alert dispatch procedure, which was agreed upon by all agencies. So anybody from home in the listening audience that's been following, I spent a minute last week explaining the difference between dual alert and mutual aid. Okay, what happens when somebody calls 911? Folks here want everybody to believe that the Amwell Valley Rescue Squad is the only person coming to help. There are police officers that are trained, that are on the road. They are 90% of the time going to be the first professional rescuer on scene. They are trained in first aid, advanced safety. They are one step below an EMT. The only training they don't have is they don't know how to package you up and put you on the stretcher and take you to the hospital. So you're going to have police cars probably at the scene, and I think you folks that do respond, do you see police cars at the scene oftentimes before you get there?
Of course, we love them.
Okay. So the nonsense that the Amwell Valley Rescue Squad is the only people that could save you is nonsense. Also, in the worst case scenario, we do live in a rural community. In the worst case scenario, if you drop dead and you're not drop dead, but if you pass out in your driveway and somebody's there to call 911, there's a 911 dispatcher who's trained to give your loved one who called 911 CPR and first aid instructions. So there is a system in place. It's not just waiting for the Amwell Valley volunteers to come save you. But I just find it interesting that back only a few years ago, they were good enough to ask for coverage to bail you out, but now they're horrible. Okay, this was accomplished through dual alert, so that's very important. Without dual alert, I'll give you guys credit. Your new stats say you're handling 60% of the calls. Not 100, but 60. All right, so but Flemington and Lambertville is still good enough for 4 out of 10, right? Okay.
Yeah, we appreciate
All right. In dual alert. All right, so this letter is going to clear up why we are reviewing the Amwell Valley Rescue Squad, because Flemington told us they were willing to pull away from you guys in dual alert and go to mutual aid. What's mutual aid mean? It's going to be a delay before the next ambulance, the next town is dispatched. 5, 7, 10 minutes it could be. I hear different things when I call the dispatchers. Okay. Dispatch procedure was agreed to by all agencies. During this 2-month period, Amwell Valley indicated that they would use the time to adjust their operations to be able to resume 24-hour coverage to the citizens in East Amwell. So going back to 2019, they said they needed 2 months to get their act together and start providing 24-hour service. Even though this agreement was intended to last only 2 months, Amwell Valley's inability to adequately provide emergency assistance resulted in us continuing on dual alert for an additional 21 months beyond the intended expiration date. Because of the pandemic, our dual alert status ended in January of 2021. However, in December of 2021, Amwell Valley approached us again. Once again approached us to provide EMS coverage in East Amwell Township for 12 hours a day, 5 days a week. Again, we agreed to provide the service on a temporary basis while Amwell Valley sought a permanent solution to their problem. On numerous occasions, we met with Amwell Valley leadership to assist them in developing and implementing a plan to be able to appropriately service their community. We have proposed a consolidation of organizations to which more effective and efficient EMS services. Despite over a year of discussion, Amwell Valley Ambulance Corps has rejected all suggested models and has not proposed any alternative permanent solution. The leadership has made it clear to us that they do not feel the necessity to remedy their inability to provide resources, nor do they have an interest in consolidating services in order to be able to provide the residents with necessary and timely EMS assistance. To date, Amwell Valley has not identified a path forward to sustainability providing permanent EMS coverage to East Amwell Townships, and talks have ceased. Since 2019, Flemington, Raritan, and other agencies have provided over 30 months of EMS coverage in East Amwell Township without any compensation or municipal support. Consequently, this has put a strain on the resources and finances of our organization, responding to calls outside of our primary response area to prevent us from being able to provide timely and efficient EMS service to the residents of our communities who support us through their contributions. Additionally, we have obligations to serve the municipalities that supply us with financial support and necessary operational resources. With EMS systems throughout the state experiencing staffing shortage, increase in operational costs, and escalating call volumes, it is not unusual to hear reports of 30 minutes or more elapsed time between 911 call and an ambulance arriving on scene. Because of support from neighboring EMS agencies, thankfully this has been the reality for the residents of East Amwell to date. However, Flemington, Raritan at this point, where it's no longer sustainable to provide East Amwell coverage in East Amwell Township citizens without direct financial support from the municipality. If you have any questions or wish to discuss this any further, kindly contact Chief Hoffman. He gives his email address and phone number. As soon as we get this, we, meaning Jenna and I, Dante, and the rest of the committee, we have a problem, right? We have a problem. Mr. Matthews has come here and told us in the past that it's not the committee's problem. Why are we even involved? All right, this is a problem if the EMS service can't be delivered. All right, so how do you fix a problem? You get everybody in a room and you start talking about it. We brought the leadership of Amwell Valley together with the leadership of Hopewell, Raritan, and Lambertville, and another few folks that were paid professional firemen who thought he could help us out. And we started meeting every 6 or 8 weeks maybe, and started trying to come up with solutions. The whole entire time we're having these conversations, the only goal I have is keeping our partners at the table to respond dual alert. All right, do we all agree that's a good thing? That's a good thing, right, to have dual alert. If we go on mutual aid, that's a much bigger problem. All right. Throughout that time, what I've done is I've called every agency that I can possibly think of, including every agency that's merged, paid services and got prices, met with commissioners in Hopewell Borough to see what their status is if they were using a paid service. And those numbers for a full-time paid service is in the $600,000 range for 12 hours a day, Monday through Friday, up to $1 million a year for 24/7, 365. That's not a real number for East Amwell Township. We can't pay that for medical coverage. So we continue to look for ways forward. Some of the suggestions that were made were merging with some of the other agencies. It was rejected by Amwell Valley across the board. Why? And we could talk about that offline, Rob, but why? Like, you need them, we need EMTs, why reject their request? I know, but there's been no consistency in the leadership, right? So you're new, and I think we have a good relationship, and we're working for the greater good of the community. Where I find myself not mad, I find myself disappointed. You're a good man, you have rogue people in that organization that take to social media and put out misinformation, and you could stop it. You could stop it, because it's scaring the community. It's not scaring me, because I have the paperwork and I have the facts. Here's the response times, here's the letter how we got involved. Here is your plan that you guys gave us that we've asked for over and over and over again. Not one of these items has been acted on, right? Well, all right, if they haven't been communicated to us, okay? And it's an easy answer to say, well, gee, that was Ethan's plan. He's not with us anymore, right? So this is the ball keeps rolling and rolling and rolling. Somebody tell me the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. What is different now? Right? You? Okay.
And the rest of our leadership.
Paul Hutchins is part of your leadership. He's not credible.
He's operations side.
But he's not credible.
He also is not the one sitting in.
Okay. All right. I'll go back and forth on that. Okay. So.
And he's a damn good EMT. It saves a lot of people. So you can say credible all you want.
Okay. So let's talk about the financials. Dante has a reason why he's asking for the financials. I have a reason for why I'm asking for the financials. We look at the big picture. Okay, how do we give Amwell Valley the money, right? I have a problem. You have crooks in your organization. I will not vote 1 minute of my life to give a $1 bill to an organization that's run by crooks, okay? Will not do it, period, full stop. The rest of the committee can vote for it, I will not. I will let the residents vote, and it's not slander, Tim, because it's a fact, it's public information.
Crooks.
Crook, sorry, all right, if you want to play on words. When it comes to audited financials versus certified, when it's audited financials versus certified, I didn't know there was a difference, okay? I was told by Flemington and Lambertville that they have to provide certified financials to their towns in order to get the monies released. Dante and I sat at a meeting with the leadership of Flemington, said absolutely in years past, because it took them time to get the information together, Raritan Township held the money back, I believe is what they told us. So it's very common, it's not uncommon, to ask for documents and certified financials. Even more common in a situation like this where you have somebody involved that's stolen money from another not-for-profit. We would be insane not to ask for those records to be proved.
But you only asked for that last year.
All right, I'm not going to go back.
Please don't yell out. I mean,
all right, let me finish my statements, and you and I can talk offline. So that's where I am with these concerns. I'm certain I'm missing a few things, but when it comes to the 30% number, by the way, that I've quoted, came from our first meeting with the larger group, why, Flemington was asking for a sit-down, why they wanted to walk away. That's where that number came from.
They were asking for mutual aid.
Yeah, that's where that number came from. The 50% was numbers that we received from you guys in another monthly report. But since I've been here, almost 3 years, we've asked for monthly reports, and they trickle in. I think Al's asked multiple times for monthly reports, and the only thing he got this time was December.
I've given you guys, since I've been in charge, I've given you every one since, besides December.
Okay.
That was the only one I didn't get.
All right, that's really all I have right now on this, but I think it's important for the residents to know that how this started was because of this letter that's in our agenda, all right, that's now available for the public to see. It was actually introduced in our meeting in probably January or February of 2023, and we've talked about this openly for the last 3 years, but most of the stuff I thought we can sit down behind the scenes. At some point, leadership of Amwell Valley took to social media. And I don't know any good negotiations that happened through social media.
Well, you took to social media because you put it out for a bid. In intentions.
all right.
And you put the fact sheet out.
All right.
Can we have order, please?
All right. That's all I have on that. Does anybody else from the committee have a comment on this part of the agenda?
Yep.
Yes, sorry. One more thing. I just got an email from Flemington yesterday to clarify something up. Because I think we can have dialogue, not in this environment, but we can have it. offline. You mentioned that the agreement with Flemington and Lambertville is a permanent solution.
Who?
You did.
I did not.
Well, okay, well, let me clarify, maybe I'm misunderstanding that. That it's a solution that's working for sure, right? We talked about that. I inquired with them because it was my understanding that it was only a temporary solution for a short period of time.
It was a
And-
one-year agreement that
Tom,
any
well,
agency had a chance to.
it's not like, we can't have the back and forth, so let me finish.
Just correct.
Tom responded back that it's, and I'm trying to pull up the email, that it's only a temporary agreement. It was never planned on being a long-term solution. Okay? So that's just where that is.
Is there expiration date on that?
I don't have the contract.
Oh, okay.
I don't have, but they said it's a temporary solution. So now what is the town, this is a rhetorical question. What is the township committee gonna do if Flemington and Lambert will pull back and are not gonna respond mutual aid? That's led us to putting out this thing for bid to try to find what our options are to see if we can find coverage. And I think it's a reasonable thing to do. It doesn't mean Amwell Valley's disqualified. There was a lot of changes made along the way, but it was to accommodate everybody that had questions or needed accommodations. Everybody got their accommodation.
Rob, could you provide us a copy of that?
The mutual aid agreement?
Yes,
Yeah, you
please.
guys have it already, but I'll give
We
you.
do? Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
and it does state 1 year and then review, whenever either agency wants to.
1 year until, from when to
The
when?
1 year was, I want to say July of '25, but I think we did it in July of '24, so it was 1 year for July '25, and then with the stipulation that anytime after that, anybody wants to review it. And when I became president, first thing I did, introduce myself to them and put that out there for them, that if they wanted to review this in any way, we are more than willing to do that. Neither one had any problem with it, neither one got back to me.
All right.
So,
All right, so the public comment section's closed. If the committee doesn't have any other comments, I'm gonna move on to item number.
Yeah, I just,
Go ahead.
one other thing, I think we also had in the package the plan that Amwell Valley put out. And, one of the concerns that I have is that was June 2024, where I think the coverage by the squad was like 50%. And the plan was by June or July 2025, that it was going to be 100% coverage by Amwell Valley.
in
And when-
East Amwell Township.
In East Elm, yes. And when I look at the numbers that you provided today, you're still at about that 50%.
Right, we're at 60% that Amwell Valley covers during their 84 hours that we cover. We pay our mutual aid partners, not the township. Which
Right, but I
which
think-
obviously Flemington asked for municipal.
But was the goal in the plan that was presented was for Amwell Valley to provide all of the coverage without?
The goal was in any way needed to make sure every resident gets, every call gets answered 24/7. And that we did.
Well, that's not what the plan says.
Yeah, that's not what the plan, I read the plan as Amwell Valley was going to provide 100% coverage.
To anybody who's part of any volunteer agency in the state would say that 24/7 coverage for a volunteer agency, unless you are strictly scrambling, is an extremely lofty goal.
Yes, I agree. We all agree. We think it's impossible, which is why we were encouraging some kind of merger. Because if you merge with one of the other groups, you get the coverage. Everyone keeps saying they want a squad in East Amwell. If you merge with someone else, we have the squad in East Amwell.
We've still in talks here and there with Lambertville about it.
So
Because Flemington honestly doesn't talk to us. I've tried reaching out to them when I first became president. They don't communicate with us.
All right,
And that's
all
fine.
right, the back and forth is over with. We can talk offline. All right, we're moving on to item number 6. Committee members, anything else to add?
I disagree with what you said.
Okay, all right. Item number 6 on the agenda, approval of minutes. We're going to carry the December 11th and December 29th minutes into February. All right, item number 7, special discussion, we passed that already. Item number 9, standing committee reports. I'm sorry, not
Number
item number
8.
8, standing committee.
There's
reports.
none.
There are no standing committee reports. Item number 9, ordinance 2601, first reading. Linda, could you please read by title?
An ordinance amending the municipal code of the Township of East Amwell, Chapter 35, salaries and compensation.
Explanation. This ordinance is amended each year to make sure all employees' salaries are within the range that they are being paid. Number C, motion to introduce ordinance 2601 with a public hearing date of February 12, 2026. I need a motion to introduce ordinance 2601 with a public hearing date of February 12, 2026. Motion.
So moved.
By Al, and who's second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Number 10, the consent agenda. Motion to approve resolution 2026-40 as filed in this office with the clerk. Can I please have a motion to approve resolution 2640? Motion by,
So moved.
second?
Second?
Mike, before we vote, could I make one comment on
You
it?
sure can.
Just for clarifying for the public, so when we hired this DPW employee, the original agreement upon hire was that the person would start at a particular hourly rate and would be raised to this rate for the start of 2026. So this resolution proposes to do what was agreed by the parties back when he was hired. Thank you.
Yes, that's exactly what happened.
Ms. Casper Bloom?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Enton?
Yes.
Mr. Nardi?
Yes.
Mayor Dendis?
Yes. Item 10, we just did 10, right? Resolution to approve salary increase for department.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Item number
Isn't that
11,
off?
and other resolutions, there are none new business. Does anyone have
Yep.
any new business?
I did.
Okay.
Attended a Revolution 250 meeting this past Saturday. June 14th in Flemington, they're going to have a parade with George Washington, not me, on a horse. In the parade, they also invited Township Committee if they wanted to take part in the parade, so I'll just say I'll be there, so my other committee members, if you guys want to attend. But I also think it'd be important to invite our Historic Preservation Committee, if they want to, mention to them if they want to take part of the parade, and also our Historic Society. I think that would be nice to do it. So again, it's June 14th of this year, so that's it.
Excellent.
Any other new business?
Nope.
Item 13, approval of bills. There are none this month. Item 14, approval of administrative reports. 15, correspondence. They're available, Linda. I think if folks need them, or whatever we got.
The correspondence is on the website, and it's in the back of the room.
16, open to the public. Limit 5 minutes per person. This meeting is now open to the public.
Janice Grover, Pound Station. I've lived here 40 years, spoken to you before. Would tell you as a legacy member, someone who's the longest standing member of the rescue squad attending today, I have never, ever been accused in my entire professional career here in my own business of being a crook, being unethical. And I've handled millions of dollars in bids in my business. I've been licensed to travel internationally representing the U.S. government. Never have I heard anything that's slanderous. There are not crooks, plural crooks, resent you personally making that type of slanderous statement. Would say that all of you should think carefully about what you're saying. You're recording this for the public. I have nothing but the greatest desire to continue to serve as part of this rescue squad and serve in this community, but never expect to hear anything like that again from anyone who's been elected to office. Thank you.
For the record, no one called you a crook.
You called us crooks. You're telling me I can't talk back. You said plural crooks.
I'm not having a debate with you. You said you're not a crook. I was just saying, just so you're
And I
clear.
corrected the plural quickly, all right?
The implication is that we're unethical. I'm telling you that's a slanderous statement, something that should never be made in public and never be made lightly. And I just resent the fact that you would say something like that, put it in the record, and create a doubt in the vision of the members of this community. These are looking at people who I saw crawl into burning cars and drag people out of houses, out of cars, out of accidents. The first thing they were concerned about was serving the people who were coming through this community, whether they lived here or not. Never have I had anyone attack personally that type of behavior, and I think that's something that's unethical and something you should really be concerned about. As the future mayor for the year, this is something you should be very careful about saying.
Thank you for your comment. Any other comments?
I just want to respond to a couple of things that were said about what I said. Was the word certified removed from the RFP?
I don't know.
In front of me. I don't have it in front of me.
Well, it was. There was a version that went out, and then a new version came out, and the word certified was removed. You said that it was untrue that I said that.
No.
Well, you can go back and listen to your tape.
No. What I said was, we did not include certified financial as a requirement to be qualified to make a bid because this squad said they would not or could not. That's what I said, and that's exactly what
It
happened.
was in the original RFP. Our RFP lays out requirements. So it's in the
I don't know that
original-
it was.
It was. The word certified was in there, and then it was removed. And that's my whole point. I'm just making that point. It was removed.
So you want them not to be able to bid?
No, it has nothing to do, they could still bid.
No, they said they can't do it.
Well,
They told us they can't.
You can still respond to something
No,
and
you
say, we
can't.
can't
If
provide
you can't-
certified.
No, you can't.
I'm not
That's the whole
speaking on
point.
behalf of them. I'm just talking about, I've read both versions, and the word was removed, okay? So I just want to clarify something else. You said the money doesn't exist. If you put it in the budget in 2025 and you didn't give it to the rescue squad, where did it go?
Gets reallocated.
Okay, so it
Every
went reallocated.
Yeah.
So,
So the new budget doesn't exist anymore. It's reallocated.
well, it rolls to surplus unless you
Why
spent
don't we
it
talk
last year.
offline, because we're saying the
Well,
same things each time.
Okay, but you're talking about being transparent, but you want to take everything offline.
No, because
Talk about it in public.
Okay, I'll tell you again. I've told you the same thing multiple times. I'll tell you again, right? So we made sure that they were not disqualified from the outset. That's just true. I don't know exactly which of the iterations, but we made sure that they were not disqualified because we don't want our local squad not to be able to bid. And you're incorrect when you say you can bid even though you can't meet the requirements. What I recall this language definitely. If you can't meet the basic specs, you cannot bid. So I can't be any clearer about it.
Okay, so it was a requirement and then it was removed.
I don't know the history of the drafts,
Well-
and that's what I told you from the beginning, but I can tell you for certain, we did not want the document to prevent them from bidding. Okay, what other clarification do you want? Because I want to be transparent and say it to you in public.
So every year, a $25,000 or more donation was made to the rescue squad. It was a normal course of business for this township committee to do. So to say you didn't have it in the last 2 years, I don't see the budgets, but I'm sure there was a line item there carrying that over every year. That was normal course of business. Every year, the township committee would get the budget, look at what last year's budget was, start there as a baseline, and make decisions. So either you decided to cut it, or you carried it. And that's my point, right? So the money would have been there. You mentioned in the letter that Mr. Dennis read from Flemington that they said that there was no compensation. They've been compensated under the mutual aid agreement that exists. So
Not
for
at the
them
time
to say,
of this letter, though. This
but it says from 2019.
Until 2023.
Okay, well, the way it was read is it made it sound like
No,
from
he read a
2019
letter
to the
from
present.
2023.
I read a letter that was written us in 2023.
Okay, well, it makes the statement meaning to the present. That's the
No,
way,
to the time of the letter.
Yeah.
2023, yeah.
point is,
That's not split words.
they've been
The
compensated.
letter's on the record. Anybody that needs to see the letter, clear it up. It's in the record.
Yeah, and a CPA has informed me that the state of New Jersey doesn't require any audits for firms that are under $1 million in revenue, so.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
So I'm just commenting to clarify a couple things that were just said. First off, Mike said that we're bashing 49. And I want to make it clear that I'm not sure where you're getting that information from, that we're bashing Flemington's ability to do anything.
He's talking about...
They are a premier agency, there's no doubt.
So, well, I'm just saying, you said we're bashing Flemington. And I just want to make it clear as day that we do not bash them in any aspect. We appreciate what they do for us, just like Lambertville. If Tom told you the agreement was temporary, that's fine. I'll reach out to him again and see what they would like changed, especially if we are the agency moving forward. But we don't bash. I've made it clear to everybody here. There's no reason to bash another agency that helps us out, helps our residents out, whether they're paid or not, all right? So that was one thing. Back in '23, when you got that, obviously I wasn't here, but that was the beginning steps of all the conversations that ultimately led to our mutual aid agreement with them. That mutual aid agreement that we pay for, in that letter that they wrote, because I read that letter a few times today, you sent it to me, I read it the other day too. It's clearly them asking for municipal financial help. Did East Amwell ever even consider giving them financial aid to help them come into our town, like they're saying all their other townships do? Because ultimately, all it ended up is Amwell Valley, out of our donations, pays them. And last year, we paid over $25,000 to them, between them and the other two agencies. And we've talked outside of this. It's just been, help us with that $25,000 that, historically, you've always, the town, not you guys, because you weren't here, historically have always helped support us. Now we lose that for multiple reasons, which I understand, but we're also paying our mutual aid agreement, which they were clearly asking for help from you guys, not financial help from another agency that they know that's a hardship for us. So ultimately, this is all going to come down to once you get your bids and whatever's said and done. We plan on putting a bid in. We had it ready to put in when the original date was there. The other two bigger agencies didn't have enough time to do it for whatever reason. So the bid will go out on the 23rd. You guys will make whatever decisions you want to make. If we're still standing, that's great. We would appreciate it. We care about this town, care about our residents. Multiple times you have said, how come we don't care about the extended response times when we're not staffed? My only question to the town is, how come you don't care about, if we don't do this next year, if we're not the agency moving forward, 100% of calls are going to take longer to get to. I don't understand why that's okay from you guys, opposed to the way it is now, and maybe working on the mutual aid agreement and helping us help them. We do our 50% of the time. We're servicing a little bit more than 50% of the calls, 60%. More people slip and fall at night than during the day. That's kind of half our calls, But we help them so they don't have to come here 24/7 all the time. If the bids and the finances of it, you guys can do it, that's up to you guys. So, that's all I got.
Let me just correct a couple things. We don't know that it's going to take longer to get to a call. I am operating off of actual data that happened.
And you said you'll share that with me so I can
Not a
get
Google
it.
search.
Yep,
This
I
is
heard that on
actual
Google.
calls that happened over a year, and all the time are within seconds.
You said within seconds.
Yeah, and I
Which I
believe,
don't understand how that's physically possible. How it's physically possible for somebody to get from Flemington Circle
all right, let's,
to here faster than we can get there.
we got to get back
You know what I'm saying?
in order. Well,
So,
these aren't.
like you said, you'll share that with me and I'll
I'll
review
share
it.
that. Okay, anybody else from the public have anything to add? Anything else to add? Seeing no further comments, I'd like to close the meeting to the public without objection.
Mike, I just have a couple of comments. So, in terms of the question that Rob asked us, why is the town okay with slower response times? The town is not okay with slower response times. The data that you've shown me and that we've released shows that there's no difference in response times, any meaningful difference between any of the three squads, whether they're based here or not. In terms of Tim's comment that either you cut it or you carried it for the money, neither is the case, as I've explained before. Ms. Grovers feels impassioned because she thinks that she was accused of criminality. That's absolutely not the case. I understand your comment was because one individual who's in the administration in Amwell Valley has a judgment of conviction that's a matter of public record. I mean, anybody can look at it. And so there's no accusation of Ms. Grover or anyone else. And in short, she's seen people being dragged out of a burning car, and, you know, folks who do rescue are courageous. That's true, but the person who I understand has the judgment of conviction, you know, I'm not aware that she's dragged anyone out of a burning building. This is, as I understand your point, is when we are fiduciaries of the public trust and money, and we are aware of public information, and when you privately go to the squad and say, look, as you did, and say, I don't want to make this a public issue, can you deal with this issue? And instead, you are told, and the Township Committee is told, no, we're not going to address that, and instead, we're going to write, you know, things about you on social media. So that's the choice of the folks who were fairly told about the issue, told why it's an issue for our residents and our taxpayers, and it hasn't been dealt with. So I can tell you for myself, when the first time in my tenure in 3 years on the council, the squad asked in the spring of 2025 for a donation, the first thing we did in our June meeting of that year was, when they came to meet with us, was to say, look, you got to give us a report and say, how are you going to be viable? How are you going to do the things you can do? To Bev's point, how are you going to be able to handle, you know, a significant percentage of East Amwell's population when we've got partners who are unwilling to stay in the mix because it's so difficult for them financially and otherwise? So we said you got to provide that, and you got to provide this information, which for me is part just good process, but for you is also because we have information that we need to protect the public by getting this information about someone with a criminal conviction. And so I put it in a letter in early July, which is right after the June meeting, to say, look guys, this will confirm. At the June meeting, we said, you got to give us a comprehensive report. You got to give us the certified financials. We have never received them. So 6 months later, when we're thinking about how to professionally pick the services for 2026, we're throwing it open as a public process. You know, maybe our local squad can provide the best package when you look at the factors. Then they'll get selected. It's a fair process, but we can't just pretend that this process didn't happen, these issues aren't here. These are issues for our public, and we've got to look into, and that's what we're doing.
So thank you for that. So I learned over 30 years in law enforcement that when you have the facts, you have the facts. You pound the facts. We have a letter that talks about why we got involved with Amwell Valley Rescue Squad. Anything after that is an absolute lie. We needed to, we had a community problem, we tried to address it. I chose, along with other committee members, to address this problem behind closed doors. I think that's good governance. I think that's the way it should be done. How can we improve the service for the residents of East Amwell? Each step of the way, meeting after meeting after meeting with all the surrounding towns, every suggestion that was made to Amwell Valley was rejected out of hand. I don't know why. I simply don't know why.
Again, I wasn't at those meetings.
I know, but don't,
you know, and that's where, you guys are what brought on the mutual aid agreement.
I'll have to end the meeting if you keep yelling out, all right? I don't want to do that, because I think there's important things to say here, all right?
Yeah.
We tried for 2.5 years, and I don't know what's going to happen with bids, by the way. I honestly don't. We tried for 2.5 years to try to get Amwell Valley to come to a solution with our partners. Just us at the table keeping our partners together. Each step of the way, Amwell Valley chose not to take any suggestions. What are we supposed to do? Like, continue doing the same thing over and over again?
Yeah, I thought we did take your
But
suggestion.
Rob, please, like, I don't want to end the meeting, man. You're a good guy, but you can't keep yelling
I
at
know
me,
we can't
right?
defend ourselves.
It's not depending. You had a chance to talk. So, it's not the time. All right, I closed that portion of the meeting. All right, I'm not even attacking you. I'm making a statement. I'm telling you how this happened, so the people at home and the people here that are here taking their time to listen to this, because it's important. And yes, it's emotional. It's emotional on both sides. Yes, I'm a public figure. I've been a police officer a long time before I went into education. I have a thick skin. I can take what people say, but I'm going to correct the record when people directly lie and say things that are not true. We're going to correct the record, all right? And that's the record that's important. So we are here to do that for the residents, because residents are calling me, emailing me. What's going on? They're saying you guys are trying to take the squad away from them. You got a vendetta against so-and-so. No, what are you talking about? The records, the facts are the facts. It's not something I planned on being involved in, but every step of the way, we tried to correct the problem, and new problems kept coming up. I didn't do it alone. We continued to change liaisons. Bev got her eyes on it. Jenna had her eyes on it. John had his eyes on it when we were here. We just couldn't come up with a solution, all right? I'm not saying there isn't a solution. I don't know what it is, but there are hurdles to overcome. A lot of people want to come talk about the money. Why didn't you give them the money? I told you why I will not vote to give money, all right? If I used the wrong word that offended you, ma'am, I'm sorry for doing that. It was not aimed at you. It was aimed at somebody else that's in your organization in the administration. It was not aimed at you. I appreciate what you do. It's not aimed at you. I don't know, I'm sorry you took it that way. So that was not the intent. What you guys that come here and like question everything we say and talk about plurals and words, if I voted to give money to an organization that had this type of problem, you guys would go nuts. You'd all say, look at him, he's giving money away to people who doesn't know who he's giving it to. So what are we supposed to do? How do we solve that problem? That's the audited financials. It's a simple thing. If you want to call it certified, audited, I don't know how much it costs. We keep kicking around this number of $10,000. I haven't priced it. I don't know what it costs, right? Doesn't sound like a crazy number.
10,000 doesn't sound like a crazy number?
Rob, please, like, I'm
Sorry. I can't correct you guys.
All right. Please, order, please. I second the motion to adjourn.
I third.
Do we vote?
Yes, all right. Seeing there's no further comments, I'd like to close the meeting to the public without objection. Adjourn. There's no further business. I need a motion to adjourn. Dante and Jennifer carried unanimously to adjourn the meeting at what time?
8:35.
8:35. Meeting's over.
All right, thank you.